I'm really happy to see all of you here this evening. My name is Chris Harwood. I'm the president of the New York chapter of SVU, the Czechoslovak Society of Arts and Sciences, and it's a great pleasure to welcome you to our first event of the new year 2024. Yeah, you're at the start of something. We, as always, want to thank our chief sponsor, the Bohemian Benevolent and Literary Association, which makes all of our programming possible. We also want to thank the Czech Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which has given us grants in particular to put our programming on YouTube. We would also like to point out this event. Our colleague, Vít Hořeš, the director of the Czechoslovak American Marionette Theater, is putting on a remarkable new puppet theater adaptation of The Good Soldier Švejk, the classic of Czech literature, of comic literature about war. We have another event coming up, a talk by Mr. Jaroslav Olša Jr., who is the consul, the Czech consul general in Los Angeles, about this remarkable Czech-American writer who is one of the sort of pioneers of science fiction writing. And Olša is a huge sci-fi buff, and so we're looking forward to that event coming up. And so now I would like to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Oldrich Voyta. He earned his MA in Footwear Design at the Tomas Bata University in Zlin, Czech Republic, TBU as it's known, and he is currently pursuing a PhD at the same university in the Technology of Macromolecular Compounds. So his field of research is women's high-heeled shoes with a 3D cushioning membrane. For several years, Oldrich lived in Beijing, China, as a leading designer at V05 Design Studio and Product Design and Technology Studio de facto. For his design contributions to the air purifier by ATMP Blue, he received the first Red Dot Award, a very prestigious design award, in 2018. His work is regularly represented in the Czech Republic and worldwide, for example, at the Beijing Fashion Week, at London Fashion Week, Milano Design Week, the Consumer Electronics Show, CES in Las Vegas, and many others. Oldrich is inspired by the beauty of the human body, by the elegant lines that are derived from its biomechanical systems. He is also a graduate of the Dance Conservatory of the city of Prague, and he performed for several years on stages in the Czech Republic and abroad, including the National Theatre in Prague, the Estates Theatre in Prague, the State Opera in Prague, the Karlín Musical Theatre, the J.K. Till Theatre in Plzeň, and the National Theatre for the Performing Arts of China. His first name is Oldrich, which can be tricky for us English speakers. He does use, when he's here, sort of an anglicized version, Aldrich, so you can call him Oldrich, or the nickname for Oldrich in Czech is Olda. So please welcome Mr. Oldrich Voyta.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be here. Thank you, everyone, to inviting me. So, as we mentioned, I started as a ballet dancer since I was 3 years old, and started at a dance conservatoire in Prague, in capital city Prague. And why I didn't not continue with the dancing was when I was finishing, I broke my knee, basically, after a very fatal jump landing, and then I couldn't walk. So it was quite tricky for a ballet dancer when you know anything just about ballet dance. So that was a key moment for me, because I started to realize that importance is in shoes and how you walk and how biomechanics works with your legs and body. So after a little bit of reconvalesation, I done some productions in theaters, such as Theatre of Joseph Cajetan Till, which is named after the person who wrote the national anthem of Czech Republic, and the very, very funny thing is how I got there. It was through one performance. It was the last performance of the dance school, and the choreographer came there and said, maybe you wouldn't like to go to music theater, because I don't even know if you can sing, if you can only dance. And I said, like, well, give me a chance. And the other day I went for the audition, and here I am with one of the Czech famous actor, Jiří Langmajer. And I've been in this theater for 4 years, 4 seasons, very important for me, because this led me to perform in variety of plays. And also after that, I started to do costume design. Because the theater of Joseph Voyta is not every theater's got their own labs for making their own costumes. This particular one, they have the labs, they have all the sewing mistresses and people who does the set designs. And for me, it was like when you're entering a fairy tale. So you see all the amazing magical stuff there, and you just want to plunge into it and get all the information. So these fabrics and threads and ribbons started to be very important for me. So this is one of the designs which I done. Maybe you can see it better here in this picture. So these are my first designs for the Swan Lake, with the principals of the Czech National Theatre, Miss Zvonaš and Mrs. Zvonaš. So here I was combining what I knew, which was ballet dance and the costume design, the fabrics, the lights there. So soon after that, I got several other offers to work on other costume designing, such as for the Moravian Theatre in Olomouc, and for a ballet called Show Must Go On, which is named after the Freddie Mercury Queen song. And this ballet was inspired by the whole story. So this is another approach which I done and based of the Queen music. So it was way long before I started to do shoes. After I done costume design, I was okay with the knee again. I got an offer from a theater named after Jiří Srnec, which was a founder of the Laterna Magica, which is a very famous theater in Czech Republic, just right next to the National Theatre in Prague. They asked me to go to China on their tour. It was very important for me and for my future. So this is how I got there. After the tour, our tour guide, which I started to talk with, and we became friends, I realized that she studied at Fashion Institute of Technology in Beijing. And I said, oh, it sounds interesting to me, because I'm an actor or dancer. I like to do costumes and maybe fashion. And she said, you know what, my friends, they have a fashion design studio in Beijing. Would you like to go with us on a dinner, and maybe we can talk about designs and how it's different in China and Europe? I was like, why not? And the words got to another word, and I got an offer to start to work for this very design studio in the heart of Beijing. So here are some designs. Here you can see the same design made after the calico, which is a fabric you make every clothes before you made it from the final one. And these particular dresses were made with Chinese silk. So it was quite precious for me. And this photo shoot happened to be in one cabinet where it was so small and dirty. I needed to cover with all this calico fabric around, and this model was actually my colleague who was writing on a computer. She was just, I believe, 4'9" tall, so that's why the stairs. But sometimes you have to work with what you have before you make the real deal. Yeah, when I was 21. The real deal is just about to happen. After I done this collection, I been asked, or we got in touch with the Czech famous photographer Ivan Pinkava, who is in collection in MoMA, which you got here, and other galleries, Victoria and Albert Museum in London, and so on. So those photographs are by him, with the collection you just seen on the Chinese little model, which got completely different approach. I got quite lucky because this collection and these photographs been exhibited in various places, such as Prague's castle or National Gallery in London and in China as well. So it was really nice to got these chances. In China, after so many years of not dancing, I actually got a chance to dance there. And here I was in a Vogue magazine doing some performances with the Conservatoire of Performing of International Style and Culture Arts, simply CISCA. And I spent a nice 2 years where I could dance, so I could do what I studied for 8 years, even with broken knee, but fixed by then. And also teach little kids and do some choreographies. So it was very nice to perform these things. But soon I said to myself, well, I didn't go to China to do dances, even though it's something what I knew since I was three years old. I came here to do design. And with the de facto design studio, I realized, okay, they do stuff differently. They don't do just simple design. They do design and technology. And you may ask, okay, so what's the big thing about that? It starts with when we think about what is the difference between design and art. If you ask this question to yourself, the main difference is that when you think of design, the design gives you function. The art gives you emotion. With design work, which gives you function, you can go further and you can get the function, a particular name and particular things to do for you. So this one is an anti-pollution mask, which was high-tech anti-pollution mask. And you could connect that with your smartphone and it gave you the percentage of the pollution you were breathing and how much the air was cleaned. There was the first thing for which I got a Red Dot Award. Here you can see it as how it is performed at the Beijing Fashion Week. And here with the Bazaar magazine with the Red Dot Award. So it was quite a success. But this design studio was amazing in that you could do so many different things. So as a designer, from designer perspective, you didn't do just one thing, just shoes or fashion. But for example here, we tried to use laser on food. And that happened when we got approached by a famous chef from a Four Seasons hotel. And after this collaboration, of course with him, we won the Michelin star, which was amazing if you think that a ballet dancer comes to do collaboration with the chef in Four Seasons hotel. But back to shoes. It was the year 2017 when I think I was 25 or something like that. And I said to myself, okay, if I wouldn't go back to Czech Republic at my age, I just wouldn't finish the school because I was 25, I didn't finish my bachelor, I got kicked out of university by not going there because when you're China, it's difficult to study in Czech. So I decided after those years in China, let's do the step and go to Czech. And the first project I was asked to participate was to prepare the exhibition for Manolo Blahnik. Now, I think maybe a lot of you know who Manolo Blahnik is, who knows Sex and the City and Carrie Bradshaw, right? So it was very nice. And how I got this offer, basically I realized there is this exhibition happened, it's going to happen in this museum. And I said, oh, it would be nice to be part of that, right? So I just got to the museum, knocked the door. And they said, who are you? I said, like, well, I was in China, I was doing this and that. And it's like, okay, we're fine with that. You can do this job. So here I was, with Manolo Blahnik, after meeting the First Lady at the Prague Castle. So sometimes it's just about the moment when you go see things you desire and you can just reach with your hand and just give it a simple question and ask. And sometimes if they say yes, it's fine. If they say no, well, that's all what they can tell you, right? But I like the shoes by Manolo. But also from China, I learned what is the 3D technology. It was 2015 when the Czech 3D printer maker, Josef Prusa, filled headlines with his new 3D printer, which was groundbreaking. And now he's the world's leading producer of 3D printers for home use, Prusa, simply. And I said, okay, why not to combine shoes and 3D? And it needs to be wearable. So those are the very first 3D printed shoes, wearable, in Czech Republic. And funny enough, you can change the design by simply choosing the color of your socks. But it's not only about crystal clear materials. It's also very nice if you can combine it with some fashionable fabrics. So here the platforms were made by the 3D printing, and the uppers by nice crystal fabrics for the collection of Jiří Kalfas, which was presented at the London Fashion Week. So after all of these knowledges and experiences, when I started to know a little bit about shoes, but I didn't really know the craftsmanship about how to make the real shoes by hand, not by the 3D printer, I said, okay, I need to know the craft. And that was the reason why I went to study Tomas Bata University in Zlin. Tomas Bata is the Czech most famous designer, maker, now brand of footwear. And this university is the only university in Czech Republic and Central Europe where you actually can learn how to make the shoes. So I already done the bachelor, which is a completely different topic. And then I said, okay, I would really like to learn the craftsmanship. I went for the master degree. Here I am recently with some of my students, actually. But I'll get to that later. The tech and research. When I started to talk about shoes and craftsmanship and design, I said about the technology and how it meets the design and how it is important. Here you can see there is the Prusa printer printing some object which some of you might realize what that is, because it is a part of shoe. It's the heel. And this heel, this particular heel, was inspired by the shapes of the Vladislav Hall at the Prague Castle. And this particular heel was the heel which Eva Pavlova wore on her shoes for the inauguration of her husband. So that was the first time when the technology and the 3D printed world met this world with the inauguration people, presidents, first ladies, and those people. Here you can see the designs with the heel. And this yellow thing, which you might see a little bit of the texture there, is the bottom of the heel. And here I can explain why it's important to know the technology. Because in this heel, the bottom of the heel, is a little membrane which absorbs the wave when you walk, and it's also anti-slip. So when Miss Eva Pavlova went with her husband on that very nicely polished floor, she wouldn't slip, and also it would add the comfort while wearing it, because you should not feel any pain, you should not feel anything that you're wearing, you should just be focused on that day, that moment. So that's the importance of why I choose the 3D technology there. Here from the other side, you can say, okay, this I could use in the kitchen while cleaning the dishes, right? But actually it's a 2 years research project, and in this cleaning part is a variety of textures with different density. And this outsole is dedicated for diabetes patients who would like to wear some shoes which might look better, but also will be comfortable. And so this sneaker, this prototype of a sneaker, was dedicated for the diabetes people, diabetes patients, to feel very good, feel like they can walk without any problems. Also, very importantly, the upper is made out of 3D knitting. Here you can see some examples. 3D knitting is basically, can be described as very similar to 3D printing. It's when you program the upper in the virtual, on a virtual shoe last in a computer, and then the knitting machine basically makes the upper after several testing and bad things here, like these and that happens. So after several weeks, you get to the point. But the most important about that is that it's completely seamless, and so it doesn't affect your how you feel when you wear the shoes. You can put different textures into one material and different properties, the breathability, the vapority of the material, plus is completely zero waste. So there's a huge difference when you make a shoes or when you make anything to use this technology. So technology and environment is very important to me, such as education, and that's why I became, since this, last year, September, university professor at the Tomas Bata University while doing my PhD. In this picture, which I hope you can see a bit, it's the upper of one shoe for women, which we'll get to now. And the material is from a company called Polstrin, which is a Czech company who makes upholstery company. They make luxurious sofas, but they also have so many offcuts of the material, because when you make beautiful sofa, you need a really large piece of fabric or leather. So then you have those offcuts which you don't need, because you can't make a zillion pillows, right, to put anywhere. So I use those offcuts because it's completely brand new material, and I upcycle them and use them for shoes. Why? Because you imagine having a sofa at home, you sit at it and stand up many times. So there needs to be some protection so the fabric keeps looking amazing after some time you're having this sofa at home. The same applies on shoes, because while you're wearing them, you're crossing your feet next to each other, and it's still, or ladies would like to have the shoes looking as good as the first day. So that is one other reason why I use those materials. Apart from the collaboration with Polstrin, and also for tomorrow, it's a Slovak ball where I present new collection with TC IQ, which is Your IQ, which is new materials, of course, also of cuts embroidered together, creating new materials. I collaborate with CHOCA, which is the Footwear Association, and one of the greatest collaborations were, of course, with the First Lady. And what I like about the collaboration, that is not only about the shoe. She invited me to do a talk with her as the first Czech ever to do talk with the First Lady publicly on a TV about craftsmanship. And there I had a chance to talk about some things which I talk now with you or to you. And it was about the importance of environment, about craftsmanship, and about that there is very small percentage of people who knows now or still how to make the shoes and how to change that. So I think that's one of the great things which I need to thank to her. Shoes, and what's next? What are the most important things happen to me or collection? Well, I believe is the one which was presented at the Milan Design Week, which was inspired by the dancers and ballet world, which I danced and experienced for so many years. For dancer, the legs are the same thing as for painters, the brushes. It's the thing you make the design or the art with. So to have a very comfortable shoe which works on the feet for you and not just it looks and goes well with the handbag is very important. Maybe just for me, but as I made them, well, so I can change that. So here are some pictures of the shoes from the collection, which was shooted in Czech National Theatre. One thing which is not as important for me with the shoes and with the design is the concept itself, because that's the thing I'd like to think as the last moment. So, for example, this one, I call them Sleeping Beauty because those laces goes around such as the roses were around the castle in the fairy tale story. But before that, as you might know now, the shoe needs to work and the shoe needs to fit very well, needs to be comfortable. Why? Well, we are not living in the 90s where the most important was the design and how it fits to the handbag and the outfit. So all the shoes, for example, from this collection were with the membranes, and also the arch support. So even those are 4 inches. I think it's 4 inches, 10 centimeters, 10.5 centimeters long heels. They are quite comfortable, and women told me that they can wear them without any problems. Even they don't wear shoes on this such a high heel normally. So this particular collection was named Opera. Here the picture is from the play. It was shooted on stage of the Czech State Opera, where I performed years before. So for me it was really to go back to the places where I grew up, since I was there since I was 12 years old, and get back home to do new approach with design now, but with things which brings such as excitement for the ladies who wears those shoes. I try to combine the design and the technology still. So here you can see those which are 3D printed, completely biodegradable because they are made out of degradable polymer here. And they are now in an exhibition in Czech National Museum. So I became a part of the museum already. Gosh. Here are the shoes which are made for the First Lady for the inauguration. And for me, this symbolizes not just the shoe and the handbag which are made for this special day, but it symbolizes that if I looked, or when I look on that video from the day, I can see that she doesn't care what she's wearing. She doesn't feel anything, any discomfort, and she came back to ask me for further collaboration. So I done my job well, and that's what brings me good feeling. So for me, I say it's not important to be the best, but to be daily a better version of yourself. Thank Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Oldrich, for this tour of this fascinating path that you have walked. I'm sure that our audience has a great many questions, but I'm going to take my MC's prerogative and ask the first. And that is, where are your shoes produced now, and how hard is it to get them?
Well, the shoes are produced in Czech Republic by hand. Most of the shoes I do by myself. I sew them, I work with the materials, but also I collaborate with my students. Throughout the year, I pick several of them which are showing that they're working really well. They have sense for detail, and they like and they love the things what they do.
So I do want to throw the floor open for questions.
Well, I don't know if I should ask the question because I want to ask about men's shoes. And in this country, at least, most of the shoes are produced in China, or not China, but China,
Italy.
China or Vietnam or someplace like
okay.
that. And I noticed that you don't have a choice about size the way you used to, let's say 30, 40 years ago. I mean, I was wearing 10.5 length and C width. Now I have to go to an 11 and D width, or some width that I have no control over. And my question basically is this a trend to simplify sizes or to cut down on the number of sizes that they produce? Is that reversible?
I would say, thank you for the question, first of all, and I would say it's more about the production itself and how the producers think of it. Before that, it was you bought a shoe and the producer or the brand gave you something or sold you something which would last. Now you have shoe which last 1, 2, make 3 seasons, and because they produce another one. So the quantity is now more important than the quality, and with shoes, everybody have at least 3 pairs of shoes. So it's more important to change that, and so therefore you don't have much options on the width, and only with the length. So now it's more important to choose the brand which fits your feet, instead of the brand thinks of the customer to fit their needs.
Okay, so another.
First, I want to commend you on your incredible talent, because dancing and having comfort with your body is a very different talent than visual and production. So
Thank you very much.
clearly your mind to be able to do a PhD, so I want to commend you on that.
Thank you.
Now, on to my question. It's related to platform shoes. I can wear heels. However, I cannot wear heels that are not platform. And I can wear very high heels. But regardless of the price, regardless of the brand, it doesn't matter. If they don't have that platform in the front, I've given away countless shoes, and then I've gone back and got a better brand that has the platforms. So 2-part question with that in mind. I've noticed that none of your shoes have platforms, but yet there's demonstration of comfort. And I also noticed that American-made brands don't have platforms. Just very inexpensive ones do, and I wouldn't wear those because they're generally junk. So I'm talking about better made brands. But some European ones do. So if you could just speak to that.
Okay, thank you for the credit and for the question. The shoes with platforms, well, it's got to do where you measure the height of the heel. Some ladies would like to wear a higher heel, but they can't. So if you have the heel which is this size, and you add the platform, so you add, let's say this, then the heel combines, and this is the height of your heel, plus the platform. So if you can't wear high heel, you will have this heel with this platform, which will give you quite large, quite big heel. But it also gives you the comfort and stability. So the platform helps with that, and that's with for the platforms. Why you can't find a platform shoes in American producers? I would say it's got to do with the anatomy or biomechanics of how many Americans walks, and also on what kind of surfaces you walk. I don't know if you're aware of the type of shoe barefoot. Barefoot is something which the sole is very thin, so you feel properly the ground. And it's a big hit now in Europe. Everybody wants barefoot. But the thing is that to wear a barefoot, you need to know how to walk in barefoot, because it doesn't cushion your heel when you walk on the pavement. So basically, it's like hammering your heel every step if you just wear barefoot with other normal shoes. So in America, in big cities, it's the same with the surfaces. You've got pavements made out of concrete, and with those heels, to add the platform and the heel together, it will be very discomfort. It will give you quite discomfort for walking on those. So you'll be able to wear them on occasion inside, such as this one, or in a theater, because the stability is very wobbling for walking with the teeny tiny heel. So I think it's something to do with surfaces and the height of the heel itself.
Congratulations, actually, on always seeing opportunity around you and then being brave enough to take advantage of it. It's not an easy thing to do, and you've done that repeatedly in many different directions, which is quite remarkable. So
Thank you.
that's quite an accomplishment. My question is quite narrow, and it's related to the shoes that you made for diabetics. And I'm curious, one, what led you to focus on that? They look very comfortable, but I was wondering, what is it that is unique about diabetics that makes those shoes something that's appealing and attractive for them?
Well, first of all, thank you for the question and for the credit. For me, it has to start with personal experience, and I don't have diabetes, maybe yet, but my friend, who is the same age as me, has got diabetes, and I didn't know about that. And once when we went for hiking in Austria during the summer, she was taking insulin, and I said, "Oh, I didn't know you've got diabetes," and she said, "Yeah, but the really big the insulin is okay, but the really big thing is that I can't feel my feet from morning till like 11." And I didn't understand what she means. And it's the term called neuropathy, which you can't feel, you can't sense the parts of your leg or your feet, maybe for several hours. And therefore, it's very dangerous for you to, for example, wear sneakers which has got open surfaces, so any dust or any little tiny stones or sand particles can get in, and they can injure you, but without you acknowledging that. And the blood transmissions in the feet and legs is quite limited after that. And when you get this injury, even a blister can last for 2 months. So that was one thing. The second thing was when she showed me her shoes, it was horrible. It looked horrible. And she had some sandals, shoes, which look okay, but no sneaker. So I said, okay, so what do you do when you want to run? And she said, I don't. That's why I'm here for the hiking. So that was the reason.
I have two questions, really, but they're unrelated. One is when you were referring to your dancing accident, you referred to it as an inspiration. Did that mean that had you been wearing better shoes, you wouldn't have been as hurt? And the second question is, as a technologist, have you or would you ever use AI to help you design a shoe? Why or why not?
Thank you for those questions. The first, okay, I have something in my backpack which I want to show you, so give me a second. So this is the upper of the sneaker which you just seen with the shoe last. The shoe last is made by first 3D scanning my own foot and then transforming it into shoe last, which is there, then printed. Also including the bottom part, which is more biomechanically made. I can send it. You ask me if I had a better shoe for if that could prevent me from that injury. I don't know. But since I know and I use that technology of 3D scanning, and I'm a former ballet dancer, and I done the photo shooting in the National Theatre and so on, I performed there before, I recently got called by the managers of the Czech National Theatre ballet department whether I would be interested of making shoes for the dancers. So now this is the first shoe last for the ballet shoe, which is now going under my research, and in upcoming weeks there will be a ballet shoe for practicing and for hopefully preventing any injuries. I think that AI gives you effectivity. If, as a designer, you use AI, you need to put there the concept, you need to put there questions, and those questions you're questioning yourself. Before AI, you would jump to website searching for designs, photographs, and it gives you those answers right away. So I would say it helps with the effectivity of the work of the designer rather than gives you the designs itself. Of course, you can use the design, how the AI makes it for you. But this already is happening for years with designers who don't care about their designs, they care about the production. So they go on Pinterest, they look at the Chinese models which aren't famous, and they copy them. So there is literally zero difference between these two if you generate a picture or download a picture with the design and use that. So it's always up to the human and the human decision whether you want to use that or not. Thank you. Well, it's got to do about the knowledge of the podologists or doctors which works with the legs, orthopeds and such, and their knowledge of footwear. There is the problem. They have the knowledge of the feet, of legs, but not the polymers, what the shoes are made of. So this gap I'm trying to fill by doing these projects and researches for diabetic footwear, for the heels with the membranes, and etc. For example, if you use shoe where the outsole is made by TPU, thermoplastic polyurethane, the outsole will have inner structure because it's very heavy material, so the structure will lighten up that outsole. If you use the polyurethane, which is quite light, you can put the air in it, air bubbles. It's lighter, and therefore you don't have that inner structure and texture inside. And it gives you the cushioning effect. So with that knowledge, I'd rather recommend for people who's got some injury or know about somebody to use them to wear shoes which are soft for touch, and if they look at them, or if you look at them, there are some little bubbles, because it gives you, mainly in the beginning, the cushioning effect for walking or running.
I love your designs, by the way. Congratulations.
Thank you.
In terms of the 3D modeling that you're doing, are you working mostly with the design of it to create the cushion? I guess you were just talking a little bit about the materials, but like the diabetic shoe, was that a different material than the white 3D printed platform you have, or is it mostly also in the design like that, the one you made with the anti-slip design?
Thank you for the question. That's actually the reason why I went to my PhD, to study my PhD, because I studied PhD in Technology of Macromolecular Compounds rather than the design. Although there's nothing bad about being the doctor of shoes, right? But with the technology, I can, with 3D printing, I can say now that the texture for the P-bay material, which is a flexible material with those properties such as anti-slip and so on, fits better for sneaker, and also for the membrane chip sort of, which are used for that heel. On the other hand, the other bigger part of the heel, which gives you the design and the texture and the stability and the strength, is made out of PLA, which is polylactic acid, and it's very easy to print and very easy to try different variety of shapes. So you've got more free hands of trying new shapes. So the shoe which you've seen, with the huge platform, is actually made of non-oilen, which is new material, which is completely biodegradable, but it's got really similar properties as the PLA, the polylactic acid. So there is your answer.
So did you have a question?
Sure. So, I mean, relative to the foot injury question, I think it's quintessentially more important to realize that when you have an injury, this becomes a biomechanical issue, and a tremendous impact on not only your biomechanics, but you have a loss of proprioception. And when you lose the proprioception, is your brain's awareness of your mind-body part connection. And so you lose proprioception, and without reintegrating or reconnecting that, your likelihood of re-injury is much, much higher. So your brain always has to know where your body part is in space at any given time. Just like if you're walking off the curb and you don't know it's there, you realize it in a nanosecond. So it's more of a function of the importance of realizing the natural history of injuries and the role of and importance of physical therapy or occupational therapy into reintegrating or relearning biomechanics. And sometimes, especially if there's surgery involved, you may have to relearn to walk, so to speak, properly. And there are gait labs who actually do a computerized analysis of this and teach you to properly walk. So, comfortable footwear is great. I mean, it's wonderful to be walking on a cloud or a marshmallow. But at the same time, you're just like your diabetic neuropathy analogy. You have to have that brain-body part connection where there's a total disconnect, in that scenario. So it's quite a complex
Topic or knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, so it's multifactorial, as most things often are. And so, everything's kind of form and function.
Yeah, no, it's true actually. When I broke my knee, I after the surgery, I had to learn again how to walk, which after dancing for so many years was quite troubling. But I go through that, and I learned. I perform again with the cushioning effect and the softness and walking on the clouds. It's very important, as I suggest to the lady, that it's good after injury to walk, maybe on an outsole made out of polyurethane rather than the TPU, thermoplastic polyurethane or polyethylene, TP, which is much stronger. Also, it comes with the hand that it's good for short distances. After you go through some injury, you wouldn't walk or run a marathon. For that one, it's better to have the TPU materials for longer distances. Why? If you walk in soft material, your heel goes down into the structure and then up, and this happens with every step. You're plunging into the material. It gives you the comfort, but also it tires you, because you go down and you need to get extra energy to get out of that. So it's very important when you choosing your shoe to choose the shoe for the activity you want to use the shoes for. If you use shoes which are dedicated for running and use them for walking, I wouldn't recommend that, because the shoe might not last that long, and also it might tires you, or the vice versa if you use walking shoes for running. So this is the importance for you choosing the shoes carefully. It's not a design piece, or it's not only a design piece, it's most importantly a function piece, because the shoe holds the whole weight of our body, plus it needs to work the mechanism with every step, walk, transfer of weight. And that's the thing which not many people think about when choosing the shoe. So here you go.
So I was wondering, as a ballet dancer, what was your opinion of the typical point shoes and what did you improve about them?
Thank you for the question. In that question, we need to realize ballet is not sport. And even with the sport comes some things which you need to go over, which you might not like. For example, gymnastics, people who perform, every sportsman have some injury, because it's extremely tiring for your body, for your muscles, for your joints to perform. With ballet, it's not sport, it's a performing art. So the shoe is completely wrong, obviously, for the feet, because the whole body weight stands on toes, like that. For ladies, not for men. But also, it comes from the history. The point shoes were first used in the ballet Giselle. The story is about fairies, and it's supposed to give you the sense of flying, because the fairies has got little wings in the costumes, and it gives you the sense of that characters are flying above the stage with the little fog which is there on the stage. So that was the first reason historically where the point shoes were used. They liked them. They were made out of silk, so it reflects the light, and also it elongates the line of the feet. So this particular part of costume, which is part of the ballet, not anymore only in the Ballet Giselle, comes from the department of art. So that's why it's got nothing to do with the functionality. And as I mentioned before, art and design, it's two different things. Art, it gives you emotions. Design gives you function. And it sort of should look good, or gives you also some little bit of emotion. But the function is the main thing. Art, no function at all. The improvement is rather up to longer discussion, because you can use there is new point shoes made in Japan, which they use the same technology as goes around here with the 3D knitting. Gives you a little bit of more cushioning, but you're still standing on your toes. So there is nothing much to change with the shoe, rather than do movements with your toes and what you do after you take off the shoes. The girls dance with the flat part of the point shoes because they stand on it, and the flat part gives you the tiny little bit of stability. Men, on the other hand, stands on their toes like that. So you don't need that flat part. This shoe lace, which is now here, is for the men's shoes, like soft point shoes, sort of, not the point shoes itself.
First of all, I want to congratulate your fabulous shoes. Too bad you come a little bit late in my life. I love to look at them.
Thank you.
Would love to wear them. But talking about the shoes and ballet and injury, is not the shoes, is the muscle and ligaments the therapist or professional has to work with to prepare them to wear those shoes. Working 70s and 80s with New York City Ballet as a PT, I learned they can dance all night if they get a proper preparation. Just to run over to Lincoln Center and tippy-toe there all night, it doesn't do it. So even fracture or anything, it doesn't matter what shoes you wear, you need proper preparation. Relax, stretch, and make strong the ligaments, muscles, you have no problem.
Yeah.
And soft shoes, particularly, not the best to wear when you walk and do sports. Thick rubber sole, leather, 6-hole lace. Hold your foot strong that your knee and hips and spine can relax.
Yeah.
So the shoes are very important. They need to be beautiful. You have an all collection of sneakers, but the physiology is the most important, and that is always forgotten.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
Firmer material, the better. I have ugly shoes, my children laughing. They look like an old lady, but I walked today all day through Manhattan and not a pinch of any discomfort.
Yeah.
So preparation of the physiology.
No, like that's the most important. My injury happened because we had that week when I had the injury, we had everyday rehearsals till 10 p.m. and the audition where I broke my knee. Exactly. And I got overtired, and I got this tiredness fracture. I don't know how to describe that. So stress fracture. So that was the main reason. So the preparation, either is ballet or jogging in a Central Park, it's very, very vital.
Thank you. I perked up when you were talking about dance and shoes and the fact that you make heels, because I tango dance, and of course we all live for our shoes and our heels. And a lot of brands that we wear, it's true, you can wear them hours, dance in them on hours, on your toes for hours, on the balls of your feet for hours, and you're totally comfortable. But it's true. I'm wearing, thick-soled shoes, little flats, very sturdy, to tramp around the city, because no matter how comfortable heels are, they still tell whoever wears them they're really not good for us. They're not good for our bodies. They're not good for our backs. They're not good for this. They're not good for that. So.
Yeah. Well, I must to say, thank you for the question or point you made. I can't break the laws of physics. So obviously high heels will never be good for posture, for your spine, for your knees, hips, ankles, etc. But I try to put them the extra stuff which are not there, usually. The cushioning, the membranes. And there are ladies, if you go to Italy, and you don't see there a lady in flats. They would walk on their hands rather than to not wear heels. So it's more about culture, it's about the opinions of one, of a person, whether they like to wear heels or not. And if so, I'd like to give them as much comfort as possible.
I have a question about the I'm going from the medical to design, back to design. What inspired you to design the shoes for the First Lady? Because that heel is not as the others, right? It's almost seems like old, different century heel, when the men were wearing heels, actually.
Yeah, to make shoes per order or bespoke shoes, you need to follow the guides or the questions or the things what the customer gives you. So working with Miss Eva, we had a discussion about what's important for her, and it wasn't to wear the heels with 4 or 8 inches long heel. The importance was to be there for her husband. So the stability, comfort, what took the first place. Also, the design was there in the heel. Let me find it. It got inspiration in the arches of the Vladislav Hall where the inauguration took place. So those tiny details I put there. Also with the functionality.
So the question is, can you ever imagine a high aesthetic design that's not with that extreme taper, narrow toe box? I mean, like, for instance, the footwear you wear donning now, like, it's a cover. So you can have a basic shoe that's kind of like a shoe box, so to speak, a very, comfortable ergonomic shoe, but yet there's a cover, so to speak, that gives that high fashion taper, whatever the magazines are telling us this you have to wear.
Yeah. If you think of design, you can think of color, you can think of the meaning of the color, you can think of the texture with each material, you can think of function, and you can combine those together. You can think of the stereotypes with that particular object you're making with the design. If it's a shoe, then heel, platform, material, either leather or fabric, etc. And those gives you the points to think about. As I mentioned before, somebody cannot imagine to walk outside without a higher heel than 2-3 inches. So for them, it's just like that. no ballerina shoe. But if you don't think about the necessity of having high heel, you can look at the other things, such as the textures, materials, and gives the high fashion sensation there. The great example of that is Raf Simons. That time, I think it was 2014, 15, haute couture collection for Christian Dior. It was the first time when he brought sneaker into high fashion. He took a sneaker, he put the crystal decorations on it, and there he was in a collection of haute couture. So here you go.
Okay, well, I would like to thank our wonderful speaker, Mr. Oldrich Voyta, for his great presentation and for tirelessly fielding our questions. And thank you again for coming, and do come visit us again in the Bohemian National Hall and online.
Thank you very much.